Today's session is brought to you by Singapore University of Social Science and a partnership with Launch For Me, in short, LFM. So I'm really excited today to share with you about Web3 and the whole ecosystem and who are the players in Web3. Now, Web3 is starting to become a culture. It's not just another new technology fad. We're seeing so many things happening in Web3 today. There's so many communities that are being set up in Singapore, and they're all over the place, all over the world, and it's just taking the whole internet by storm. So if you're excited, just like we are excited, you're going to be learning a lot today. I'm just going to be able to touch over the surface because Web3 is so wide and so deep, it's almost impossible to be able to go anything below the surface. So I'm just going to be touching the surface and moving from one point to another. And this session today is actually we call it module 1. It's actually the module that will have 3 lessons in there. The first lesson will cover a whole spectrum of Web3 and then commerce. And then we'll talk about what are the players of Web3 today that's happening, especially in the realm of NFTs, which is what we are all trying to get at. Now, then we're going to move into lesson 2, where we're going to talk a bit more about Web3 commerce itself and how NFTs become the bridge and they transform everything in Web3 commerce. And then in lesson 3, in module 1, we'll be actually bringing you in to the actual platform of Launch For Me itself. So Launch For Me itself has all the functionality for you to launch your NFTs and be able to create a lot of excitement, build your community. It's a whole unified launch channel, and we're so excited to be able to share with you in the next few lessons. Here's a short disclaimer. I would like to say that the trademarks names used in this presentation are not belonging to Launch For Me. We're not making any representation of the ownership, nor are we criticizing or giving any advice to invest in any of the things that you see in Web3. Now, in the first lesson, we are going to be touching about where the true value of Web3 is. What's in store today? Okay, we're going to be touching on the evolution of the internet. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Web 1 to Web 2 to Web 3. We're going to touch a little bit about that. And then we're going to go into the Web 3 ecosystem, its major players. It's so incredibly wide and deep in there. So we'll be touching on the surface a little bit. And then we're going to NFTs as a bridge throughout Web 3. How NFT is going to be the one instrument that's going to carry all the value that will help you to traverse the whole Web 3. And then talk a bit about what people are doing in Web3, where the value creation is, how it's being used for record and exchange throughout the whole economy. And then we're going to be talking about NFT use cases. There's so many of them right now, and it's so exciting, and we'll be covering that as well, right? And then finally, where do I start? Now, in this whole module that we're going to be sharing with you together with SUSS, there's going to be so many great things coming up. There's going to be project assignments coming from a real client. We're going to be your client, and then we'll be having our brands who are the merchants on our platform become the real clients. And if you have the capability to provide certain specialized talent, especially in art, digital art, music, photography, video, we'd love to hear from you. And then we're going to be running competitions where there will be rankings, awards, and prizes to be won. And these are probably going to be outside of your school curriculum. And we're talking to SUSS how we could incorporate some of these and perhaps maybe even make it as part of it. Yeah. But we're still talking about that, and we'll be keeping you informed. And then there'll be live minting in the next lesson. In the next lesson, we'll be talking about how to actually mint an NFT. And it will show you exactly how it's done on the Launch For Me platform. And then finally, we're going to have community events. I'm going to give you a QR code on Telegram, and then you can just snap it, and then you can just get online with our Telegram group, and then we can get connected, and we'll be running events outside. The number of events is running in Singapore on Web3 is just staggering right now, and the numbers are growing, and we hope that you'll join us, and then there'll be so much that we can share between us, information about Web3, what everybody's doing, and so on. Right? So let's just go into the evolution of the internet. Right? So I'd like you to just sit back, take it easy, have an open mind, because it's going to blow you away. Because Web 3 is very different from Web 1 and Web 2 that went by. Okay, so we're just going to look at the evolution a bit. Okay, so in Web 1, which was started around possibly the early 90s. It was only read-only static. A lot of people put out websites out there, and you could only see, you couldn't really interact with it. It was more like a listing channel, like a directory. And that was already quite successful, right? That was what you call the World Wide Web in Web 1.0. And then in early 2000 onwards, you really had the whole progression into Web 2. If you remember, in the 90s, there was a big dot-com crash, and eventually the whole market died. And then from the ashes rose some of the most spectacular platforms that we know today, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube. Facebook themselves came up around in 2004, and it's read-write interactive. So instead of just pushing information, it was a two-way. People could contribute information out to the platforms, and then from there, they could share with others. And that was a very, very powerful phenomenon, right? So in Web 3, we want to carry on what happened in Web 1, Web 2, but bring back the power to the individual. So why? Because in Web 2, the big platforms like Facebook and Instagram, if you think about it, every time you put up your user-generated content, which you call UGC, and you put up your videos, you put up pictures because you want to post everything to friends so that they can see whatever you're eating, whatever you're doing, they are using your content to make it interesting for other users to use that content to then create excitement so that they can put advertising into it. Yeah. So the first time when you subscribe to Facebook, you had to put in your age, your gender, your education. You had to put even where you stay, right? Okay, so if you were into e-commerce, you understand that brands and advertisers use that information to target you, and they follow you throughout the whole internet using a term called retargeting, right? So it is not a fair internet that we're at today in Web 2. So we got to change that, right? So in Web 3, we want to democratize the user back to the way the power is given to the individual, so that it's not given to the platforms. Platforms will still be there because platforms are the way to unify communities to come together and exchanging information, exchanging videos, games, excitement. That's where a lot of people come together because a lot of people are there, right? So the more people come together, it's what you call network effects, the more other people will come along, right? But in Web 3, even in a portal, even in a platform where communities come together, we still want to give the power back to the individual. And that's the reason why it is not just read and write, and it is verifiable. So you'll find that when I talk about Web 3, we're talking a lot about proof of ownership. Proof of ownership is a very, very important term in Web 3 because when you can prove ownership of something that you have just posted up, for example, on Facebook, right? You can get monetized for doing that. So Web 3 tries to create monetization for content for people who put very exciting things, especially digital media, onto the platform. And that's how the whole idea started out. So it was in 2014 when Ethereum co-founder Gavin Wood first called it Web 3. Now, there's a difference between Web 3 and Web 3.0. 3.0 is another further layer on top of Web 3. He wants to bring the control back to the users. And the primary way to do this, firstly, is to use a blockchain. I believe everybody today knows about Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin started in 2007. And from there, it's grown from probably coins into $60,000 US, and then now it's dropped to about 17,000 because of we call this present period the crypto winter. And Gavin Wood, who is the co-founder of Ethereum, wanted to go beyond what Bitcoin was doing, right? He wanted to create smart contracts, right? I'll talk a little bit about smart contracts shortly, and the ability to have the blockchain do things beyond what Bitcoin was just doing, which was just recording proof of ownership and value, okay? So with this whole idea of Ethereum that became the alternative to Bitcoin, it started the whole decentralized strategies behind the whole blockchain technologies of Web3. which is like decentralized storage, self-sovereign identity, and all these things add up to the whole idea of Web3 and what it can do for you. Okay, so that was really the beginnings of Web3. It was in 2014 with Gavin Wood. Now in Web 3.0, it is further than just Web3, right? It's blockchain, it's decentralized, it's proof of ownership. We add another layer now, which is called sovereign identity. Now, with blockchain, you're able to carry your identity across into any platform. Let's say today, right? When you go into Facebook or Instagram, your identity is locked within Facebook and Instagram as a centralized repository within their database, right? Now, with blockchain, the ownership proof of who you are, imagine yourself, you as a person, right? You as a person, you are representing yourself. Every time when you move in a Web 2.0 format to different platforms, you have to register to every one of them. But in Web3, you don't have to register with every one of them anymore because you are carrying a decentralized passport of proof of who you are. And that's what you call sovereign identity. Sovereign identity allows you to move from one application to another seamlessly, and people know it's you. So there's no dispute of who you are, and there's no chance that your identity can be stolen. Yeah. So Web3 and blockchain is all about proof of ownership, and it's also about proof of identity. Now, in Web 3.0, you have this thing called semantic. Semantic means the intelligence that goes behind the whole structure of the internet. And that's where AI comes in. In Web 3.0, AI is used to drive the data and the technology within the blockchain layers across the whole Web 3, moving it into Web 3.0. So who are the major players in the Web 3 ecosystem? So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper and then touch the surface a little bit and understand how Web3 came about. And from there, hopefully, after this first lesson, you get a good grasp of how things work in Web3. And then we will focus more on NFTs and how to launch value so that you can monetize and take advantage of NFTs. Yeah. But firstly, before you can become a jazz player, you need to learn the classical piano, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Web3 areas, the players. It's kind of like going into classical piano in this case, right? Once you know it, okay, I know how to break the rules, so to speak. I now become a bit cleverer and a bit more of an expert. I can now go in and find out more about what I can do in Web3, right? Peel the layers and look behind the scene. Okay, so the first thing we want to cover today is blockchain. You've all heard about blockchain. Blockchain is basically a ledger where you want to record a transaction. Now, whenever you buy something or you hand off money to somebody else, right? That record can only happen once. So the blockchain is meant to record the one-time transaction that goes from one party to another. And it should never be recorded twice, because if it's recorded twice, that breaks the rule of the ledger. Okay, so ledgers are records, and every time a transaction is made to record the ledger, it's made into a block. And there's a lot of technology behind it. There's the SHA, there's the hash, the 128-bit code, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm not going to go into that level. I just want to give you the idea that blockchain is for you to ensure that a transaction has been recorded, whether you're flashing your proof of ownership, or you're buying something, or you're transferring an asset. An asset meaning to say, for example, an NFT or a cryptocurrency. It's only going to be recorded once, right? So I send it to you, it's recorded once. You send it to somebody else, it's recorded separately. Or you buy somebody else's NFT, that's recorded separately as well, okay? So blockchains are open. They can also be closed, but we'll only touch upon the open ones. What you see here below from Bitcoin to the right, which is Clayton, they are all open, meaning to say anybody like us can go in there and participate in the blockchain by going through an application, right? In Web3, we call everything decentralized. So even as an application, we call them a decentralized application, which is a DApp, D-A-P-P, a decentralized application. So blockchains is all about decentralization. I'll talk a little bit about that in the next few slides in the part about DeFi, which is decentralized finance, and you'll understand why there's such a great need for decentralization. Now, it's censorship resistant because in blockchain, you don't need any government, any state to record that data, that transaction that has just occurred. And it's trustless, meaning to say, when something occurs, you don't need somebody else to say that, yes, this transaction happened. It happens on its own as a record digitally through the algorithm that's been written into the blockchain. Algorithm means the software, the code that's behind the blockchain. And every blockchain here has a different structure to them. They are meant to do different things for different specialized areas. For example, Ethereum, we mentioned. Ethereum is different from Bitcoin in the sense that Ethereum has these things called smart contracts. The founders of Ethereum were smart enough to know that if you want to have a blockchain, you don't just have a record. You want a record to be able to do things. Somebody is able to start up a contract. When an action is executed, the contract is transacted and is recorded. Okay, so that's how it works. Now, Polygon is a different one where it's faster than Ethereum, but yet it's riding on top of the Ethereum blockchain. And this Solana is different. Their way of assembling the blocks are different. They're based on history. It's called a proof of history. Bitcoin started with proof of work in the sense that in order for a block to be assembled, somebody has to mine that block, meaning to say that they have to unlock the code behind the transaction and then mine the block. Ethereum has now moved to proof of stake, where you now have people staking the coin of Ether in order to make the records of transactions. Polygon rides on top of Ethereum. Solana is a different blockchain altogether, doing proof of history, and so on and so forth. Algorand, Avalanche, Polkadot, Phantom. They're all very different. Polkadot, for example, is actually founded by Gavin Wood, the same guy who's the co-founder of Ethereum. Now, Polkadot is able to allow different cryptocurrencies to traverse between different blockchains, and even including NFTs as well. So it's very exciting technology that we're seeing here. Now, with all these kind of technologies of blockchains, that started the need, right, for smart contracts to happen. Now, smart contracts are when you have, for example, you want to send a parcel from here to the US, right? So a smart contract can be written that when the parcel passes through a particular import-export zone border, okay, activity happens, and then that triggers the smart contract. And then the blockchain records that transaction, and it then deposits a payment to the logistics agent, right? And you don't even have to be there to execute that payment to the logistics agent. The blockchain, together with other technologies, which will activate the record of the ledger, would then show proof that the good has been delivered to the US, and therefore, as part of the smart contract that you written earlier, the logistic agent is deemed to have done his job and he gets paid. All done digitally, electronically, without you having to intervene into the process to tell that happened. Okay, so this is how smart contracts work. A smart contract written on a blockchain is based on real events that have occurred, and it triggers a contract which has been written digitally as a code into the blockchain. And then when it happens, it triggers, the block is made, and then a payment is made to the party that you have set for payment based on the smart contract. Okay, so that's a very simple way of explaining a smart contract. And with decentralization and with all the blockchains, started the whole idea of decentralized finance. So what is decentralized finance? Decentralized finance is where Web3 wants to be able to reward the user for inputting the effort into whatever they're doing, okay? So even NFTs are part of the whole DeFi movement. So what's happening here in DeFi is that when I mentioned about smart contract earlier, where you had sent a parcel off to the US, and then the logistics agent gets paid. That is decentralized finance. That payment was paid directly out of the blockchain using cryptocurrencies. For example, if the blockchain was Ether, the logistics agent was paid in Ether. It didn't have to go through any bank payments. Imagine if you had gone through centralized finance, you would have had to secure a letter of credit, an LC, set it all up, and then in the LC there's at least 5 to 6 different parties, and then the seller gets paid. Gets paid when the buyer purchases something, and then the logistics agents gets paid when the parcel is sent over to the US. And there's at least 5 to 6 banking agents. You have central banks, you have clearing houses, you've got the credit card agencies. If you're using a credit card, but you're using LC, there are the banks, there's the agency banks. There's at least 5 or 6 different banking agents involved. But in DeFi, they have simplified it so that when a transaction occurs, somebody gets paid, and it is trustless. It doesn't need any party to tell you that the event occurred, as long as it did occur and it's triggering the event on the blockchain. So this has started a whole big movement in Web3, because with DeFi, even the banks themselves are seeing that they are losing their handle on centralized finance. Because with DeFi, you can lower down your cost of transaction, and banks are now starting to see how they could provide themselves with even digital banking currency in order to provide this kind of access and facility to customers to reduce costs and make the cost cheaper for the customers in order to do business as well. Okay, so even banks are getting into DeFi right now. DBS, Standard Chartered, all the big banks that you know in Singapore, they're all into DeFi today, right? They've been in there since the last 5 years. But you haven't really seen it happening because they are still in the works of looking at regulations, because in payment structure, the governments are very, very concerned about regulatory and the responsibility behind handling payments and cross-border payments. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that we want to talk about is exchanges. So now with blockchains, with all these coins which are running the blockchains, because you need a coin to run a blockchain, right? Okay, why is it? Because just like in Ethereum blockchain, you need the Ether coin in order to run the blockchain, because the coin is the one that is used to reward the people who create the blocks, right? So when you have these coins, what happens? People feel that there's a lot of value in these blockchains, and then they start to want to invest in these blockchains, and therefore there were all these exchanges that were set up. They were set up for people to be able to invest in coins. And now there are 2 kinds of exchanges. There's a centralized exchange and there's a decentralized exchange. I believe a lot of you have heard about FTX and what happened last year. Those are centralized exchanges. And it's really got nothing to do with the power of Web3. It's purely because of human greed that happened. Yeah, so just like everything in history, it's not the technology, it's the human person. So I just wanted to get that clear. And so in a centralized exchange, your funds are controlled by the exchange administration. That means to say in Web3, everybody holds a wallet. Now you have a wallet, right? And every time you go out from your house, you have money in your wallet. And then when you go to a vendor, when you buy something, you open up your wallet, you either flash a credit card or you use cash and you pay the vendor, right? So in Web3 is the same thing. You need a wallet. Now in the centralized exchange, the wallets are held by the centralized exchange. In fact, it's given by the centralized exchange. But in a decentralized exchange, you hold the wallet, and most importantly, you hold the keys. Okay. So when you're holding your own wallet and coming to a decentralized exchange, you're only using the exchange to do swapping, right? So the exchange charges you a much lower cost for doing that swapping between different currencies or to make payments. Yeah, and then you're using your own wallet, and the wallet holds your keys. Whereas in the centralized one, the keys and the wallet is held by them. Yeah. So then the other player that's major in the web ecosystem is the market information. It's just like Bloomberg, right? If you have brothers or sisters or friends who are in finance and they're doing trading, commodities, forex, they rely a lot on Bloomberg as a terminal, the Bloomberg terminal, in order to get news about what's happening in the financial markets. Now, in Web3, which is decentralized finance, DeFi, it's the same thing, right? You have two kinds of platforms right now there. The two of them are called CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. They are both collecting data, prices of how these cryptocurrencies are doing. Yeah, they go up in price, they go down in price. If you look at the cryptocurrency market, it's very volatile. They can go up like $10 in a day, maybe $100 over 6 months or a year. Yeah, and you see wild swings in Web3. The reason for this is because Web3 is so much driven by sentiment. It's driven by sentiment rather than by real fundamental supporting reasons. Yeah. But these two platforms will give you a very good idea about what are the cryptocurrencies out there and how they're trading, what kind of prices they're doing, how many of them are being staked. Staking is a way of keeping currencies in a reserve, whereby when you put it there, you can actually get interest coming out of it. Yeah. So it's kind of like in central banking today. Yeah. When you put money in the bank pays you interest, right? So in decentralized finance, it's the same thing, right? When you stake it with a particular party, the party will give you the interest, and then they use the cryptocurrency to lend it out or to use it to circulate out for other decentralized applications to use those currencies. Okay, so these are the two platforms for getting information. And then, as I mentioned earlier, every application on Web3 is called decentralized application. It's in short a DAPP, decentralized application. And it's running on blockchain. It's autonomous in the sense that it's running on its own based on the power of the blockchain. It doesn't need an admin to come in all the time just to tweak everyday singular commands how to operate. And they're running on smart contracts, as I mentioned earlier. And they also run on the distributed ledger and decentralized computing. Yeah. So just remember the term called dApps. It's a very important term. I also mentioned about wallets just now. Now, wallets are the mechanisms, right, that enable you to hold your cryptocurrencies as well as your NFTs. We like the first wallet. The first wallet that was ever founded was called MetaMask. Yeah. So later on, we will help you to onboard onto MetaMask. MetaMask is such that you can use it to buy cryptocurrencies, sell cryptocurrencies, use those cryptocurrencies to purchase NFTs. And when people purchase NFTs, the NFTs are also placed into the wallet on MetaMask. Okay, so what are the kinds of wallets? So right now, I want to share with you the three kinds of wallets. There's the hot wallet, the cold wallet, and actually paper-based wallet is just writing your private key onto a piece of paper. Now, whenever you set up a wallet, you'll be given a public key, a key that everybody sees that identifies your wallet. And then there's a private key. A private key is something that you never show to anybody else. It is private to you. And if anybody finds out your private key, they can basically rob you of your whole wallet and whatever is inside. Yeah. So the public key and the private key work in unison in order to unlock the payment that you are going to make to someone else. Okay. So the procedure behind it is rather complex, and I won't cover that. But just remember that in wallets, there's the hot, the cold, and then the safest is the paper-based. Okay, so what is the hot wallet? Now, when you go into a centralized exchange that I mentioned just now, where the exchange owns the wallet, and they essentially, because they own the wallet, they have the private key. So your currency and your funds are not really safe, right? It's still under the custody of the centralized exchange. And therefore, it's always better that if you're holding cryptocurrencies or you're holding NFTs, they should be placed in cold wallets. Cold wallets are like they're kind of like thumb drives. If you have a thumb drive in front of you, there are a number of them. One of them is called Ledger. And you are able to see what's in your cold wallet when you transfer away from the hot wallet from decentralized exchanges into a cold wallet, and then you plug it out of a computer. That's where you get the most safety and security, because you know that when you're not plugged into a computer, nobody can hack away the cryptocurrencies or the NFTs that are found in your wallet. And that's why it's called cold. You're taking it away from the computer, because when it's hot and it's connected to the computer, it means to say that you're about to do a transaction, right? There's a reason why it's hot, because you want things to move in and out fast, right? But if you can pull your funds out in a cold wallet, so that then the cold wallet can be ejected from the computer and they can keep in your drawer. Yeah. Now the paper-based wallet is just such that when you have a private key, you actually write your private key onto a piece of paper and you don't lose that paper. There have been stories where a guy in the early days of Bitcoin, he bought like about 100 Bitcoin, and then he just left his private key in his hard disk. And eventually he forgot all about it. A couple of years later, when Bitcoin had hit about $5,000 per coin, he remembered that he just threw away his hard disk in a PC just a week ago. And he only realized it, right? And then he wanted to try and recover it, but it had already gone into the dump yard. So he was, the picture shown of him standing in the dump yard trying to find his hard disk, right? Okay, so now just remember that your cryptocurrency, whenever you buy it, right, which represents the value that you have invested into the blockchain, your investment of cryptocurrency is actually just a record on the ledger of the blockchain. You don't have any of the funds physically. It's not cash in your wallet. It is also not a number in your bank. Yeah, it is actually a record on a decentralized ledger on a blockchain that you have chosen. And in order to retrieve back that amount of cryptocurrency, which represents real value of dollars, you need to have your private key in order to retrieve it. And that's the reason why you cannot lose it. So at the last resort, you have a paper wallet. Yeah. Okay, so all these things are very, very deep and very complex, right? And why would I even want to get a Web3, right? But we've asked ourselves the question, why does the world want to go into Web3, into decentralized finance? Because there's so many things that's going to be open to you, and you will learn it as we go along with these 3 lessons. And because decentralized finance and decentralization itself enables a lot of cost efficiency. It enables things to be done much more transparently without having certain parties to be involved, without having to trust anybody. But the trust now relies on yourself, because everything that you own is going to be in your wallet. Now, if you are holding a custodial wallet with a DApp, a decentralized application like an exchange, your funds are at their mercy, right? But when you bring it out into a non-custodial wallet, you can hold that wallet, and eventually if Bitcoin, for example, jumps from 17,000 back to 65 or 100,000, that is immense value in your non-custodial wallet that you're holding, especially when it's a cold wallet that you've taken out, and you know that you own that, okay? So decentralization is a very, very powerful concept, and a lot of people are jumping onto it because it's not just about finance, but it's the monetization that drives everything that happens around it, right? I think we can't deny that the world goes around because of money, right? So in the same sense, the whole world and all its activities run around because of the funds, the money layer that goes behind. So blockchain is really about decentralization, trustless ledger is also about the money layer, right at the bottom that's supporting all of it. Yeah. So I mentioned about custodial and non-custodial wallet already just now. Yeah, so in the centralized exchange, it's custodial, and then on a non-custodial wallet like MetaMask, Trust Wallet, and so on, we'll be helping you to learn how to onboard onto a MetaMask wallet so that you can start to purchase cryptocurrency in order to mint your own NFT, that also to be used for paying gas fees. Gas fees are what you call the kind of payment that you make to the people who are recording the blocks on the blockchain. Okay, so those are gas fees. You need to pay for that. So it's inevitable that when you get involved with Web3, you must have a wallet, and you must be able to know how to manage a wallet, keep it secure, keep it safe, and then be able to work with it efficiently. Because if you are selling NFTs in the future, because you're going to be learning how to make money out of selling NFTs from what you're learning in your curriculum, in your studies, and as well as your own talent. You want to be able to know how to work with your wallets so that you're able to handle your own money. Okay, so Web3 is a very powerful tool for that. Then there's self-sovereign identity. I talked about identity, proof of identity. So right now, when you have your own wallet and you have a public key, whenever your non-custodial wallet is connected to any of the decentralized applications, the decentralized application will ask for your public key, and they will also ask for your password. Your password is not your private key. Your private key cannot be told to any decentralized application. You can tell your password in order to link to that dApp, and then the dApp will then recognize your public key. So by recognizing your public key, everywhere you go, okay, so if you look on the right side, this is the Web3 model of self-sovereign identity. Whenever you go to any of these dApps, okay, these platforms, okay, now Facebook is not currently using self-sovereign identity yet. Now that is the hope of this this picture, which we don't think it will ever be, because Facebook will never ever be fully decentralized, because Zuckerberg will never want to lose power of his platform. Yeah, he just wants to still get everybody to contribute their content and be able to advertise on it. So, but imagine if now you could bring your wallet and link up to all these decentralized applications. You don't need to go and register one by one to any of these applications anymore, because your wallet is going to prove who you are. So what I'm trying to say is that the first stage of self-sovereign identity in Web3 is the wallet that you are carrying, your non-custodial wallet. So with your non-custodial wallet, when you are linking up to any of the dApps, that is proof of who you are. They don't know your name. They don't know your age, your gender, your education, your background, your school, where you live. And that's the whole idea of Web3, to keep it private, but to know that it is a true party that owns that particular wallet. And because you have the private key to enter, the private key as well as the passwords to enter into your own non-custodial wallet, it proves that you are the owner of the assets that you own in your wallet, so that when you connect it with an application like Launch for Me in February, we will ask you for a password. And once you're linked up, you can do sales of NFTs, you can purchase NFTs, you can get involved with the activities, and there'll be earned benefits as well. We'll be talking a little bit about that, where we actually reward users for their activities and so on. Now, you will need that non-custodial wallet to be linked up to these platforms in order to manage your own funds, both for cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Now, if you look on the left side, right, this is the current model that I'm talking about. Every time you go to a different application, you have to go in there and set up your whole registration process all over again, correct? And that's the reason why people are moving away from that, from the left side into the right side. Now, in the left side, of course, when you work on the Web2 model, the left side is Web2 model. You're using credit cards for payment, and then you probably get paid if you're a merchant, and it goes, people pay by credit card back into your merchant account. Okay, so today, credit cards are still going to be used in Web2, and in Web3, we still continue to use credit cards because they're very, very useful. But we start to elevate people into the idea of decentralized finance so that they can manage their funds, okay? So just remember that the wallet helps you to manage your funds and to manage your identity as well, okay? So that's a very, very important point. Now, I want to also impress on this other area, which is called DeSo, decentralized social networks. The future of social media is decentralized. As I mentioned earlier on, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, they are all using your content to make their platform exciting so that they can then start to let other people, let other companies advertise into their platform and put their advertising on top of your content. Okay, to put their advertising on top of your content so that when people are coming in, when you have friends and you got other people watching your content that you have put in so much work and it's so enjoyable for them to watch, Facebook puts an advertising right on top of your content in order that they can then advertise somebody else's content in order to make money out of that. And that's how they thrive. Okay, I'll just give you 1 minute to think this through and ask yourself whether that's fair or not. If you say that no way that's fair, you're completely correct. Because we, in Web3, want to break away from that model in the sense that whatever content that you create as an individual belongs to you. And if your content is shared with other users on the platform, we ask a permission for it. And if promotions are done on your platform, you get paid for it. Okay, you get paid for it. You get earned benefits, which you can then convert into cash, or you can use it for spending on the platform. Now, DeSo, which is called Decentralized Social Network, is trying to create a principle where the power of monetization passes back to the user. It is not just LFM that's doing this. This is a movement that started over the last 3 years, where a number of platforms are now replicating Web2. Some of them are replicating YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But it takes a little bit of time for people to understand the benefits of coming to Web3. And therefore, we feel that in order for people to understand it, you really got to help the user to learn about the monetization, the rewards that they can get, and therefore to lead them into Web3. Okay, so LFM, just give a few snapshots of the platform, which is going live. Phase 1 is going live end of this month. So by February next month, we'll be minting live. And I just want to share you that it's got DeSo capabilities. On our first page on the mobile here, we'll be on desktop first, and then somewhere in the middle of this year, we're going to go on mobile. We will be engaging with brands. Now, everybody is a brand. Now, if you're a creator, you're a startup, you're a small brand, or you are out to raise crowdfunding, you can come here and be able to monetize your skill set, right? If you're a good photographer, you're a good videographer, you make good movies, you make good music, you make good digital art, you make good products, you can come here, okay? So you can use the live videos to do short reels, and you can do long reels, and then people can talk about it. You can come in and do challenges with other brands on a particular theme, and then you can also collaborate with one another to create incredible NFTs that people will buy. And then you'll be able to do a live launch, and that's what the whole functionality of Launch For Me does. And then in the future phases of phase 2 and 3, we'll also be launching a metaverse version of this, where it's completely gamified, and we'll talk a little bit about that, right? But the whole idea is that there'll be a lot of social media-like facilities and functions in there where people can talk about your NFTs and so on. So decentralized autonomous organization now is the next thing that is really big today. In short, it's called the DAO. Now, what is a DAO? Now, a DAO is such that when humans come together to make decisions, it's tough, right? Whenever you come together in a group with other people, let's say you started a club, right? And the club is that, okay, I'm going to start up this incredible club in SUSS. It's going to be a club that would bring people together talking about Web3, okay, for example, right? And in that Web3 club, we're going to have events. We're going to invite some of the best speakers in Web3. We're going to do private parties. We're going to have all kinds of learning experiences and so on, right? Now, you then set up a board of directors or board of board of advisors, for example, that will rule over this organization. Now, how are you going to make decision every time you want to have a change of direction of the organization, right? Okay, so a DAO is such that by using a blockchain, it will take away some of the very laborious procedures when you try to get everybody together, right? So let's say you have 50 members and you want to get everybody together to get consensus. Now that's tough. Now imagine if every of these 50 people who are giving consensus were to agree that now if we had this particular event trigger, let's say, okay, now our membership hits 1,000 people. Now you don't have to actually get together when that happens. As soon as the numbers hit 1,000, your computer, together with the other computers, the other 49 computers, would run an algorithm to trigger a yes, and the decision is made, okay? And then if another smart contract runs that, it will then register with the registrar of societies as a society or a club. That is also triggered as well, okay? So a DAO helps you to automate decision making, where you can predefine your decision, and then whenever an event occurs, it automatically triggers, and then the action is executed. Or if you decide that you only want to trigger it at the point when the event occurs, it can also simplify your work as well, because then you don't have to come together. You have also got your algorithm already set to trigger yes, and all you need to do is just have your computer on, and then that will trigger the event. Of course, you can always do it in real life and make decisions as well, right? But a DAO essentially does that. Now, DAO is so powerful because that will give you a lot of room to be able to run many different kinds of organizations. And we'll talk a little bit about how DAOs are run on the LFM platform as well, in NFT staking and stuff like that, right? Now, the other major player in the Web3 ecosystem are the technology providers. Technology providers, who are they? Now, in Web3, it's pretty serious technology in there. And some of the best paid developers in Web3 are the ones that write for Solana, for example. Solana is a very powerful blockchain which is written on proof of history. And these developers who have developed these blockchains, they have decided as well that they want to develop software that anybody out there who is setting up a platform like a DApp, who wants to now start to set up functionality, they don't have to start from scratch. They can use a lot of these software development kits, the software environmental developments, and various classes and libraries of software in order to put them together and create functionality. Okay, so these are technology providers, and wallet technology is one of them. Payment technology is one of them. And a lot of dApps use this technology in order to create functionality so that they can also be interoperable with other decentralized applications as well. Okay, so technology providers have done a great job, and they're currently doing very well as well, because some brands, like later on in the next part of this talk, we're going to have a 5-minute break as soon as we hit 1 hour. We are coming to that point right now where we are about halfway through the whole session, and then we'll have a 5-minute break, and then when I come back, we'll be talking about the use cases of NFTs, right? And then you'll see how all these bits and pieces all come together, and they add up towards how organizations, brands out there are using NFTs and using all this technology that's being pieced together, from wallet technology to decentralized technology to DAOs, and all of them, how they all come together in order for brands to promote themselves and to sell their products and services. Okay, so just remember, the technology providers are a very important part of the Web3 ecosystem. And then there's the NFT marketplaces. So in NFT marketplaces, you're probably very familiar with OpenSea. Now, OpenSea is what you call an open marketplace, which means to say that you can go in there and mint an NFT and sell something, and then resell it again. Now, if you were to then buy something from OpenSea, you can then take that out of OpenSea and go somewhere else and sell it in another marketplace. And then in that marketplace, you can also buy something from there, and then you can bring it back to OpenSea as well. Okay, so OpenSea does not restrict the open movement of NFTs going in and out of the marketplace, but the challenge with that is that there's a lot of plagiarism on OpenSea. You will find there are a lot of fakes in there, NFTs which have been sold by somebody who've now the purchasers has now duplicated those NFTs, and they have relaunched the same NFTs and named it differently or tweaked something differently, and then placed it back into OpenSea for purchase again. No doubt OpenSea has got an engine that looks at that qualifies whether the NFT is unique or not. Yeah, there's still a lot of plagiarism, and out of the billions that have been sold, quite a large percentage of them are actually plagiarized, right? Okay, then there's, on the other side, there are marketplaces like Christie's. Now, Christie's runs a private marketplace, meaning to say that nobody can even just go in there. In fact, none of the, for example, the people's artwork that was sold, that was sold as a partnership between Christie's and Beeple, and it was not somebody who just came to Christie's and posted an NFT in order to sell it. Okay, so you can't go into Christie's to just sell something. Christie's has to select you, your artwork, your collectible, and then have a partnership with them, and then be able to sell with Christie's. Now, Christie's charges a fee of about 20 to 25% on the sale of every NFT or any physical asset. OpenSea charges about 5%, 2.5 to 5% of a digital asset. Now, I want to talk about our platform here. We are what you call a curated platform. Now, this is important to know the difference in the sense that we are here to help brands, original brands, to launch their assets. Assets meaning they can be physical, digital, and rights and privileges and experiences. Okay, so we believe that Web 3.0 is going to completely change the way we purchase things, right? Today in Web 2, whenever you buy something, you go to QO10, Lazada, Shopee, Amazon, and so on, right, to buy something, and you choose the cheapest price for what you're buying because they're utility items. Now, if you wanted something even faster, right, you wanted gratification, you go down to the shopping mall and you get it. Food, F&B, everything is in the shopping mall, right? So our belief is that beyond all this in Web3, people are looking for very, very unique experiences, limited edition, highly specialized products and services, brand experiences that are linked to the creator, the founders themselves, and they really want to get involved with the founder, and they feel for the story of the founder, and they want to have that incredible privilege and right to be able to enter into experience with the founder. This is what LFM does. We are here to help brands to launch, and that's why it's called the Unified Launch Channel, because it's helping brands to launch through NFTs, because NFTs can embody all the things that I mentioned about. NFTs can show proof of ownership of physical items, digital items, products, which are products, services, experiences, rights and privileges. Just give you an example. For example, like this, the one on the right, where the young man is looking down, and he's got his tape around his shoulder. Yeah, he's a fashion designer, right? So you like his stuff, but you want to get to know him. You want to learn how he puts his ideas together in his studio, and you want to be there to learn from him. And he's going to give you a lot of tips and tricks and techniques about how to pair up your whole boudoir, and you want to attend his private functions as well. Okay, so he's going to put that into an NFT as a right and privilege, but he's also going to sell you a digital art, okay, that represents some of his most beautiful designs, but carrying the story, not just a pictorial of the fashion design that he did. Yeah, it's got to be art, right? It's got to be culture. And then at the same time, locked in there, right, are rights and privileges that allow you to enter into his functions. And once you've entered into those functions or events, your attendance is recorded on a blockchain, and then you can even resell this NFT to somebody else who values this person, okay? So in this marketplace called LFM, it's a curated marketplace. You can only come in if you're launching your product or service as an NFT for the first time. And then when it's resold into the marketplace, people will know that it's original and it's unique. There's no dispute that whether it's plagiarized or not, okay? It's not going to be open like on OpenSea. And at the same time, it's not going to be so close that you can't even get in, like Christie's. Yeah, so we will talk a little bit about that as we get into lesson 2 and 3 and how you can launch on the platform. Now, the other major player are the GameFi people, right? Now, you know all about gaming, right? Gaming has been traditional prior to Web3, but now it's moving into the blockchain as well. So you can see that whenever you play in any of these games like Gods Unchained, Axie Infinity is especially popular because it's what you call play to earn, P2E. Very, very popular in the Philippines. And during the COVID period, a lot of families, in fact, young people were saying that if not for Axie Infinity, right, we would have just gone without food, right? In the game, you make babies out of the creatures, and then you can create very unique creatures, and then somebody else might buy those creatures from you. But it's starting to kind of like slow down the whole P2E model, because people are finding that it's expensive to get into it, and you got to buy something in order to be able to play it, and then to be able to make babies as well. Okay, so gaming has gone into Web3, and then Web3 helps gamers to monetize using cryptocurrencies. So now, what is the next thing that's really big, right? Is the metaverse, right? Now, the metaverse itself could be worth $13 trillion. Okay, so if you sweep from left to right, from entertainment all the way till education, we feel that education is one of the biggest areas in Web3, in the metaverse, that could be really used to a high degree of success. So, what is a metaverse? Metaverse actually stands beyond the universe, but a metaverse must have these few principles behind it. There are 5 principles behind a metaverse. You got to be decentralized. You have to have a virtual economy where you have like in-game assets that you can sell, that I just mentioned just now, GameFi, where people make creatures and they make avatars and they make all kinds of skins and stuff that you can sell. And then they've got to be interoperable. Yeah, it means to say you can jump from one metaverse into another with your avatar and with your wallet, with your sovereign identity. And then they're all collective 3D spaces. And they must be persistent in the sense that they must be running 24 hours. Now, the one on the right, which is Microsoft and Horizon Worlds, they are not really a metaverse, even though they say they are, and Zuckerberg has come out so strongly. Reason because they are not decentralized. They're still owned and run by a centralized company. And you all know why, because they don't want to lose control. Okay, so the metaverse industry verticals are gaming, socialization, corporate. Corporate is very strong because you can run your events, and also you can run events for other people. And then commerce. Our platform, LaunchMe LFM, is running on the commerce vertical, and that's where NFTs are found, similar to where all the other fashion brands are now also doing NFTs as well. And then there's education, right? So education is a very big one. Adverse is one of them. So Web3 enables the metaverse to function by having decentralization, privacy, proof of ownership, and the money layer that we mentioned earlier. So at this point, we just passed the 1 hour mark by about, exactly, because we started about 5 minutes after 7. So now it's about 8:04. So we're quite good on time. We're going to have a 5-minute break here. So before you go, we are going to be starting an LFM community on Telegram. So if you can just point your phones onto this QR code, it will give you a link into our Telegram group. If you're registered on Telegram, you'll automatically be in. If you're not, then register and you can come in, right? I must say that the first time when you hear about Web3, right, you've heard a lot about it, but you're not sure what it is. And you don't really know where to start, right? And you're going into the internet and you're looking at a lot of different things, and there's no real direction. So we're hoping that through today's first hour, you've got a lot of value in there, that you're starting to really understand a bit about how Web3 comes together. Now we're going to talk a bit more about the strategy of Web3. Okay, and the strategy is NFTs. Now NFT is real bridge throughout Web3. But what are NFTs? So when we talked about blockchain earlier on, and we talked about all the different coins that are running on the blockchain, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, they're all fungible tokens, okay? Meaning to say that if you have one Bitcoin in your wallet and I have one Bitcoin in my wallet, they're both the same. So if you were to exchange them, if you were to compare them, no doubt they have a different record on the blockchain, but the value is the same, okay? So that you can exchange them one for one. Now, NFTs are such that you can't exchange them one for one. They are non-fungible in the sense that your token is unique because it represents, let's say, a digital piece of art. Mine represents a digital piece of video, and therefore they're not the same, right? We'll talk a little bit about how they could be that you could actually link your record to a digital piece of art and mine to a digital piece of video. Okay, we'll talk about that in lesson 2, where when we mint an NFT, we actually have to link that NFT record to where the actual storage of that media is found. Okay, and we put it onto a decentralized server called the IPFS, Interplanetary Filing System. So everything in Web3 is interestingly decentralized, right? Even for storage is decentralized. So all the media that's linked to the NFT is decentralized in a decentralized server, but the record of the ownership of the NFT is on the blockchain. And if you own that record because you bought the NFT, which is the record of that token that represents the media that comes underneath it, then you are the owner of the NFT. Okay, so NFTs today are not just like what you saw in OpenSea. No doubt they're still selling in OpenSea and people are still buying because of speculation. But you notice that in the last 2 years, from 2021 till 2022, we had the highest height of NFTs, right? Where it was just going up to a point where it's like all the way to the top and the prices was very, very high, right? And then all of a sudden, everything just plunged earlier this year. It plunged because of the same reasons why cryptocurrency plunged. It has something to do with the financial markets in the conventional markets because of the interest rates. So everything plunged, right? The value of speculation plunged, and therefore coins, fungible tokens, as well as non-fungible tokens dropped in value. But we feel that the true value of NFTs is in the utility. That's why we mentioned about rights and privileges, experiences, gated events, and physical assets. NFTs can be used to represent physical assets. So currently, you can see that on the left, you have digital collectibles, and then you have in-game assets, and real-world assets are starting to come in. Like this platform, which is called Blockbar, where they sell NFTs that represent wine and liquor. And brands are also using them for a number of different reasons. For example, getting into the metaverse, you need to have an NFT to carry, let's say, a piece of clothing, which is a 3-dimensional clothing that you can wear on your avatar into the metaverse. So brands have used that as a way to build further product penetration and market penetration, where they start to sell NFTs that represent physical assets. So you could buy, for example, a piece of fashion, an apparel, which is physical, and then at the same time you have a digital version of it that you can wear in your avatar when you enter into the metaverse. Yeah. So brands are also using NFTs to build community, like BAYC, for example, on the left here. They created a whole model of creating community, where if you own one of these BAYC art, you belong to a very privileged class of owners, because they are not cheap, right? At the very high point, they were worth about 250,000 US per digital art, per NFT. Depending on the particular NFT that you buy, the prices can vary quite a bit. So brands are using art, which is in the form of NFTs, to create imagery that associates you to their brand, okay, which is a very powerful tool of NFT. So we feel that NFTs must always have a incredible imagery or representation of themselves when they're sold as an NFT. Now, brands also using NFTs to recapture brand resales, because if you use the NFT to represent a physical product, whenever you sell the NFT, the physical product is tied up with the NFT, the digital version of it, and therefore, when somebody else buys that digital NFT from you, you will have to still fulfill to send this physical shoe over to the purchaser. Okay, so platforms, Web2 platforms like StockX, Real, Iron Horse, and many of those that are doing reselling, right? They will need to move into Web3 and use NFTs to be proof of ownership, so that these assets can be easily retraded. Yeah, so NFTs are seen to be able to provide liquidity, so that, for example, you might have a Mondrian piece of art, right? That's sitting in a warehouse, a bonded warehouse, under air conditioning, conditioned air, which is low humidity, very well protected. You can actually sell an NFT that represents that Mondrian piece and let it resell on the market as an NFT, rather than having that art being delivered to the new purchaser every time. Okay, so you are actually giving an asset, right, the ability to be sold much more quicker by giving liquidity. Okay, so NFTs are great for reselling, and then it drives new revenue streams, as mentioned in the other areas. So NFTs provide what Gen Z and started by the millennial generation are looking for. We don't buy things just because we buy things. We are looking for experiences. And as part of the experience, if it comes with a physical item or a digital item, we'd love to have it, right? So we need to look at NFTs as delivering experiences rather than delivering products, right? So we got to drop the idea of looking at Shopee, Qo10, and some of these Amazon, marketplaces in Web2. You're not out there to buy utility. In NFTs, people are buying into your story, the experience they can have with you, the uniqueness, the limited edition, the very special rights and privileges that you're going to give to them. Okay, that's what you launch as NFTs. And NFTs are the bridge to the metaverse, as I mentioned. So this one really shows you the some of the three-dimensional fashion that you can provide for your customers, and you can give them a version of the digital, so that they can wear on their avatars when they get into games like Fortnite and so on. Okay, so the NFT is really a bridge across Web3 and into the metaverse, because that's the only thing that you can use for carrying value, right? Apart from cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies are fungible in the sense that you can exchange, right? It's like cash. You can just pay. You can just use it for paying. And people pay you for buying something. But when you're carrying something that is not freely exchangeable and that can go up in value, right? You use an NFT to do that, because the NFT will represent something very unique. So NFTs are the instruments that will help you to carry value across the whole Web3 ecosystem. And down here in the rectangular box, what I'm trying to say here is that it's really a true opportunity for creators like yourself and entrepreneurs who want to start a small brand or a startup to be able to sell via specialized offerings, whether it's a product or service or an experience or a special privilege as an NFT, right? And you can even use an NFT to do crowdfunding. Now, if imagine, right, you were on Indiegogo or Kickstarter and you wanted to launch a new technology. Instead of waiting for people to pledge and have them pledge as much as you need in order to meet a particular minimum, right, before the campaign closes, right? If you're familiar with Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Now, just sell an NFT, okay? Sell the NFT with the rights and privileges of learning and experiencing you for what you are best at doing. And then when the money is raised from the crowdfunding, you then fulfill your customer with the physical item and therefore delivering the full capacity of the NFT, which includes both the digital, physical, and the rights and privileges. Okay? So how do you create value and record the exchange throughout the Web3 economy, right? So NFTs today, they're starting to represent real-world assets. Okay, they provide proof of ownership, and as I mentioned here, you create a value that's unique and scarce. It can be digital and physical, and you provide all kinds of experiences, privileges to meet you, which not everybody can have. And then by doing that, you're raising the perceived value of yourself as a brand, as a creator. And the more you launch NFTs, which are unique and limited edition, that's how you build brand. Brand was never built on selling anything that was a commodity or common. It has to be very, very special. It has to be unique and limited edition. Okay. So the more you do that, the more you build brand. So the total addressable market for NFTs back in 2022 was 40 billion, and that was only for digital art itself, collectibles, and that didn't even include the in-game NFT assets. And with that, they Chainalysis, which is one of the decentralized applications, reported that by 2030 it's going to be worth 231 billion, and that would still also not truly include real-world assets. So what are real-world assets? Real-world assets are things that you really can touch and feel. Okay, it's not just a digital item, but you use the digital record in order to prove ownership of the physical that comes together with the digital. That's how it works, right? So if you think about it, if that's the case, then any kind of ownership certificate that I have that's physical, that can now be digitalized, and then recorded on the blockchain and as an NFT. And then in the NFT, I can have a folder, which we call the unlockable content folder, which only you can access because you have proof ownership of the NFT. Inside the unlockable content folder could be a digitalized version of the certificate of ownership of the car, the Mondrian painting, the fine jewelry, or even an event that you had experienced before. Why would you want to bother with that, right? Because experiences are so important. So Gary Vee, who's one of the biggest promoters of NFTs and Web3, he's a very, very successful influencer on YouTube. He's got like 2 million followers, 3 million actually. And he was very good on Web2 social media, always posting videos. He has now moved into NFTs because he knows the power of NFTs, right, in recording not only digital art, digital assets, but also in experiences. He came out with a collection called VFriends, and VFriends is a collaboration with Walmart. It's like it's actually an Uno game base where he laid on top of it, which are animals, on top of the Uno game cards. And then he was starting to sell it with Walmart. And then now, of course, you can buy it from his site as well. When you buy his NFTs, you get to keep the digital art, which is representational of a character, and you will probably buy a character that represents you. But more importantly is that you can then attend his events. You can even meet him personally for dinner. You can ask him questions. So the more you pay upwards, the more privileges you get through the NFTs, that the particular NFT type that you bought. So NFTs are very good for tiering privileges, for capturing value. and for raising the profile and the perception of value that you're giving to your customers. Yeah. So you might ask, okay, so I'm just about starting out right now, right? And I'm thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, and I want to do my own NFT. But how do I start? How do I build up my clout, right? I mean, I'm nobody, and I want to create something that people will be interested in. Look at what you can do that you are really, really good at, okay? And then collaborate with your friends. Find a person who's very good at art, create that art, let it become the face of the NFT. Put together a profile of yourself, put together your program, something that you might even be teaching, right? That you could sell. Or if you're good at crafts, you're good at putting videos or music together, put those together, right? And then start to craft your NFT. We're going to be talking about the use cases and who are the local people in Singapore who are doing all this. Okay, I better just move on. And who are they, okay, who are engaging with NFTs? Okay, who are they? So in Singapore, we have Mark Lee, of course. Everybody knows Mark Lee, the funny guy. And then we have Danny Ng on the left, okay, who is actually a beatboxer. You know, the boom, 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 and the kind of stuff, right? The rapper kind of stuff that you use with your mouth. And they've done NFTs, okay? And it's been successful. Yeah, because people are not buying NFTs because it's a utility product. They want to get close to Danny. They want to get close to Mark Lee. Okay, so you can see right in the center there, Mark Lee has represented himself as a chimpanzee, yeah, with tongue sticking out. And his collection, kind of like it's funky, it's fun, you know. And so think about how you would put together your digital art together to represent your experiences that you're going to give to your customers and what you stand for, okay? And that piece of art, right, should also represent your story, okay? It's not just something that looks funky and nice, but it's kind of like your personality, your persona, your character, and what you stand for, what your values. Okay, let's see some more. Now, then we also have Shiga Shea, right? Shiga Shea, he's a homegrown rapper, and then he's got his own collection there. He did a good job as well in his hip hop collection. And now the thing about NFTs is that you don't price it too high, right? You gotta price it like, some people price it like 1 to 2 Ether, which means it's like $4,000 to $5,000. It could, if you're good, if you're very, very well known, it's okay. Now you price it lower so that it's accessible. Okay, so I'm talking about how you can get into the NFT thing, right? With the question that I just mentioned just now, and then just reflecting on what these people are doing, but give a lot of unique value. Okay, it's not just about value; it's about unique experiences that people want to have. Like, I want to get close to this rapper because, you know, he's so cool, right? So now Siobhan Wong is another one, right? She's a fashion photographer, and she did very, very well. And on the left is her picture of Idris Elba, yeah, with someone else. And then, okay, and then we have Chanel Lee. Chanel Lee, we've actually communicated with her before. She was one of the very, very early NFT creators. She started out around 2020. Yeah, she quit a job in finance, of course. The story is always you quit a job from finance, right? And then you do something that's completely radically different from what your parents tell you to do. So she did that, and she was quite successful. But there are things that we feel that she should be doing in order to build up her community further. And we'll share with you a bit more about that in lesson 2 and 3, where we talk about how you actually engage with your community with many, many different kinds of features that can happen. Now, you might be asking who are actually buying NFTs today, right? By gender, there is a gender gap. More men are buying than women. The gap is not that big. And you'll find that in Thailand buys the most number of NFTs. And Philippines, of course, because of Axie Infinity, which the play to earn game that's helping them survive. And then of all other places, Malaysia. Malaysia is one of the top buyers of NFTs. So Singapore is right there at 6%, and it could be better. Okay, so who actually buys NFTs? So NFTs, if you're just talking about digital collectibles, like on OpenSea, they're usually a speculative crowd of people who buy something, hoping to buy it low and then sell it high. Okay, but people who are buying NFTs on games, they are typically people who are more passionate about buying the NFT because it helps them to overcome some obstacles in the games, and they really want to be able to go to the next level. or they're actually looking to create a lot of very unique assets that other people will buy, like skins and so on. Okay, so that's a real ecosystem in there in GameFi. So all these different ecosystems, all these different players on Web3, they're driving the NFT market. So it's also by generation. You'll find that the millennials are actually buying more NFTs. In fact, Gavin Wood, the co-founder of Ethereum, who started Web3, he is a millennial. Yeah, he's actually a very, very late, a very, very early millennial, more into the generation X's behind. One year just skipped the millennial, and then, but he's primarily a millennial. So millennials are buying the most NFTs, and then followed by the other generations like the Gen Zers. So, and where are they happening the most? I think we covered that. Thailand and coming all the way down to South Africa. NFTs provide you rights and privileges, investment possibilities, all kinds of unique cases as well. Okay. So other NFT uses cases are, so we've all seen this one, $69 million from NFTs, 5,000 days art by people, and then Pudgy Penguins. Pudgy Penguins as a project has not been doing too well lately because it's purely digital, right? So the days of purely digital collectibles are waning, they are moving down. We call them the first phase of NFTs. The second phase of NFTs are really NFTs with utility. And then in-game assets that we talked about, like on Epic Games, Ubisoft, they are really moving into Web3 as well. And on virtual real estate, these are the use cases of what you can use NFTs for, yeah? Early on, you saw the local artists and celebrities, they are using NFTs for launching their brand and how they can market themselves, right? And create new revenue streams. But here, what we're seeing is the kinds of areas that NFTs are being used in. Okay, so early on, we had the art, we had the games, and then here we have the virtual land and real estate. Okay, so in Decentraland, essentially you go in there, you buy your land parcel, and then you rent it out to others so that they can run their events in there. Okay, so when they sell you a piece of land, they sell you the land as an NFT. The NFT is that certificate of ownership of the land parcel that you own in Decentraland, which you can then now rent it to other people to run events and so on. Okay. Then there's also the sports, right? In the sports area of where NFTs is being used, they can be used for playing cards. So in playing cards, you might remember a particular match 10 years ago that you really wanted because you were there, especially with your girlfriend, boyfriend, or your spouse, and you're watching a game, and you really want to keep that particular event. Okay, so it becomes a memorabilia. So NFTs are not just proof of ownership, it's a proof of time as well. It locks a particular time in your life that you can now relate to, which then the NFT creates that incredible value for you, right? It's like when you think back of when you were growing up, all of us, when we were growing up, there were particular songs in our life that we always remember. When a song plays, we remember the part of our life, right? Okay, so an NFT is actually a record of time as well. Okay, and that's a powerful thing. So music, of course, because it's a digital media, and some of these musicians have been selling insane amount of NFT value in the millions because they are already so famous, but because also they are engaging into a new customer crowd. Okay, so the Web3 community crowd are essentially younger. Okay, the ones that are buying NFTs are typically younger. The ones that are buying cryptos, they are more spread out. They can be older people as well, like the boomers and Xers. But when it comes to NFTs, they're typically younger, primarily because the younger generation, as mentioned earlier, they are craving for experiences. They're craving for community. They're craving for a link with a crowd of people who believe in the same thing. Okay, so when you're out there setting up your own NFT in the next lessons and hopefully on our platform, think about how you can create communities that believe in you, that have a common feeling to what you're doing. Okay, so if you're a musician, think of how your music is different and it touches the soul in a particular way. Okay, and then you got to find a community that links to you in a particular way. Okay, so fashion and beauty, of course, these brands have all poured in millions of dollars to create assets on the metaverse. A typical metaverse event will cost anything from $70,000 and above. We actually know the people in Sandbox, and Singapore actually gives a grant to companies up to 70% financing. And the typical budget that you would spend on bringing an event into the metaverse will be about $70,000. Okay, the metaverse being in Sandbox or any of the other games where your community can play games and attend those events as well. But the main thing is that when you start an event in the metaverse, you got to be able to sell NFTs. Because if you don't sell NFTs, then you're just going in there naked. You're going to be wasting a lot of money because you're not going to be able to recoup your investment. And therefore, brands are selling NFTs where you can buy a Nike shoe, which is digital, 3-dimensional. You can wear it on your avatar. At the same time, in the unlockable content folder that will come with the NFT on the file that is locked in the IPFS interplanetary filing system, will show that you have the redemption rights of collecting a shoe from Nike. And then you just have to contact Nike, and Nike will have that shoe, the physical shoe, sent to you in parallel with the digital version that they're given to you for your avatar. Okay, so that's how NFTs can be employed for users in the metaverse and to support events and experiences. And these NFTs will also say that because you own the NFT, you have the right to bring your avatar into that experience. If you don't have the NFT, you can't prove ownership, and therefore you don't have the right to receive any of those that was mentioned earlier. Yeah. So the next thing, of course, then is ticketing, right? As I just mentioned, the NFT. The beautiful part about NFT is that when you have an NFT in your wallet, the wallet can translate the identity of the NFT into the ownership layer of the wallet. And then using algorithm, different applications have now come in to then enable a second layer to recognize that your wallet is linked to your mobile phone. Okay, so when you actually enter into a gated experience, all you have to do is flash your mobile phone and nobody even sees your wallet. So the identity is moved from the NFT onto the wallet layer, and from the wallet layer onto the mobile phone layer. All the other person sees is the QR code or any other access code without knowing all the private details of your wallet even. Okay, so that's the power of how decentralized applications are layering on each other today in order to create functionality, as I mentioned earlier on, technology providers, right? So that you can have a whole seamless experience of purchasing an NFT and enjoying it. Now, movies are really moving into NFTs because movies are digital and they have so much paraphernalia and so much IP material that they can sell, they can monetize and market whenever you buy an NFT. And certainly they're in there. And believe it or not, everyday brands like Starbucks, Taco Bell, Sony, they're all in NFTs because of the reasons I mentioned. The NFT can represent digital, physical rights, privileges, experiences, gated events, and so on. Now, Starbucks has had their, in the US, they have been having their membership, and it has been phenomenally successful in the sense that you can join the community and then you can get special perks from them, drinks, events where you can even attend events where they bring in special guests and so on. But with their starting of using NFTs to bring their membership level onto another level, now that was really something because then you could use NFTs, right, to record the utility of those privileges. And then you can use NFTs to record the access to those privileges, whether they have been enjoyed and whether they're still remaining. And then even these NFTs can be resolved. So for example, if Starbucks was to sell you an NFT, right, and you bought an NFT because it gives you this number of cups at a discount, you can buy, and then you can also attend some of the events. Now you decide that after a month, you don't want to have that club membership anymore. You want to resell it on OpenSea, right? Because it's an open marketplace. Somebody else who buys that NFT of Starbucks will now be able to enjoy the remaining privileges of that NFT. So how is it good for Starbucks is that Starbucks can continue to use the NFT to create brand promotions, right? As long as there is still value in the NFT. Yeah, so it's a really powerful tool. You know, like if you've been told, for example, if you do photography, right, you don't just publish it in the newspapers, or even on the magazine. You want to publish it into a book that you can place on a coffee table, right? And you want to be able to publish it and then distribute it everywhere, because that coffee table book is going to be there sitting on the table for a long, long time. Okay, so the idea of NFTs reselling and being able to be there for a long, long time is a really powerful mechanism for branding. So we believe so strongly about NFTs. And of course, today, people are using it for memberships. So lately in Singapore, there's a club called Mandala Club. For 15,000, you buy an NFT membership, and you get all kinds of rights and privileges, and you get special events where they also bring in famous speakers who empower you with all kinds of knowledge. And of course, when you're in that community, you get to rub shoulders with other people who are privileged as well. Okay, so we're also not saying that NFT is all about creating restricted access to only high-end customers. NFTs have been doing very well for causes as well. So causes that are meant to deliver a purpose. Yeah, because today's generation, millennial as well as Gen Z, they are looking for purpose, and they're looking for trust and transparency. So NFTs that are driven by causes, for example, cause for sustainability, for people with cancer and so on. Okay, all these kind of causes are very, very good things that you can use to drive NFT sales, right? So NFTs, when they are as a digital art on the NFT, they themselves become the representation of the ticket itself. Okay, and it also represents the membership tiers as well. So much so that now even real estate people are using NFTs to create gated memberships into the purchase of their real estate. I mentioned earlier that crowdfunding is a very powerful one. So with NFTs, you can crowdfund by selling your services, by selling expertise, know-how, special experiences, gated events, getting to know you, advice that you can give to your customers. And then once you raise enough, you can actually fulfill the physical product at a particular stage of time that you have promised to give to your customers. So instead of going onto Indiegogo and Kickstarter, where they ask you to pay $25,000 to do a really nice video, and then upload all your friends and relatives' social media contacts, and then guess who is actually funding you? You use an NFT to sell the experiences and the expertise that you have, and then you fulfill the physical items that you promised to give them at a later date when you had the funds. Yeah, so it's a very, very powerful model, NFTs for crowdfunding. So and then DAOs that I mentioned earlier on, where you have decided to pass it off to the blockchain to run the decision making of an organization. So each of these DAO members can have an NFT to prove that they are part of the DAO. So how does this work, right? Before you can even go in and validate the decision on the blockchain when an activity happens, so that you go forward, on a decision, you need to firstly link up your wallet. Okay, so when you link up your wallet, the decentralized application is going to search for the NFT that represents you. If it can't find you, then it knows that you're not the person, right? It could be identity theft. They are looking for an NFT that represents you, which only you have the proof of ownership of the NFT and therefore you can then go in there and run the organization as a DAO. Okay, so this is what NFTs and DAOs can come together as well. So now this is the most exciting part, and I thank you for staying awake up to this point. Where do I start, right? So I'm just going to give you an example of this guy called Philip Colbert. I just bought one of his toys about 3 months ago from Action City, and I was just flabbergasted by the colors and the form. And it's just crazy, insane, funny, and he is a neopop surrealist and the king of color. And he has done a whole series of exhibitions, and he's taken his pop art and implemented it into different characters from movies, from other genres and stories, and made his lobsters become those characters. Okay, so it's really, really funny, and it's really, really good. Now, I'm going to ask you what you think he should do if he were to launch an NFT, okay? And I'm going to ask you here, if you were Philip Colbert, how would you craft your NFT and grow community? Okay, would you create more unique, diverse characters, interpretations, themes, and variety, like he did? Even more of it? Tell his story through video and short reels and long reels? Create a course like Save the Lobsters, Save the Ocean? Or do a live launch? Hey, come to my live launch, and I'm going to give the first bidders who purchase my NFTs a 10% discount, or you get to attend my private party after that, or make my art become characters as part of a game. He could easily collaborate and work with a game designer, right, and make his characters become part of a game where they become game characters, and you can go in and play it. Or should I just collaborate with others, right? Throw a party by the beach. How about challenge another artist on the theme and get my community to support me? And the most expensive will be to provide a metaverse experience, right? But you have to have sufficient community, because if not, then you'll be going in alone and also with a big hole in your pocket, right? So, so what would you choose? And when you think about this, right, what is the NFT likely to possess? Is this going to be just digital, or is there going to be physical as well? How about rights and privileges and experiences? I'm going to be coming to the end, but the most exciting part, because we have so much in store for you, SUSS from LFM, is going to be quite insane. Okay, so question time. Can I make money in Web3? If those of you who say yes, type in a Y. If those of you who say maybe, type in an M. If those of you who say no, type in an N. Okay? Come on, give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. Yes. Suksha says yes. Lian says yes. Thank you very much. Rising says maybe. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody says no? Dan, thank you. Yes, you definitely can. Okay, I'm not going to talk about how we're going to do this, okay? In the next couple of lessons, I'm going to be sharing with you the how to make money in Web3 with NFTs, okay? In lesson 2 in early February, our platform is getting live around end of this month. We're still going through user acceptance testing, a lot of technology things to work out. And in early February, we're going to be talking about the problems of Web 2. We're going to dive deep into Web 3 and how it is different from Web 2 by identifying the problems of Web 2, the paradigm shift of Web 3 from Web 2, how NFTs differentiate, how digital marketing is simpler when you move into Web 3. If you've done omni-channel marketing and retargeting and so on, you'll know how difficult it is and how costly it is. In Web 3, it's actually cheaper and it's more targeted. It's more, I would say, efficient because you can target direct to community. Okay. Then we're going to be talking about the platform itself. What are the features? We're going to get you onboarded, get you set up for your wallet, and then in lesson 3, we're going to help you to craft your asset. Okay, so asset meaning your digital, physical, your rights and privileges, and so on, and then how to create a brand strategy. Okay, how to put your storyline together, what you stand for, the experiences that you can use to connect with people, and then how to actually list the NFT, how to create Web3 promotions, and then real life minting example. Okay, either you can bring in something that you think can be done as an NFT. We'd love to see what you have, or we will bring in some of our own as well. Okay, then the last one that we're going to cover on the lesson 3 is really the ongoing promotion, the live launching techniques, exciting a community, how to create continuous growth, and what you call earn benefits. Again, what are earn benefits? Earlier I mentioned that how Facebook, Instagram, and all these are using your user-generated content, and then they're making money out of it by advertising to other third parties. On our platform, we provide you with tokens, which are tokens that you can earn, that you can respend on the platform, that you can purchase other NFTs from other people, so that it's a very vibrant community. It's kind of like an Etsy kind of community, right? Etsy, when it was first built, the whole idea behind the founder's vision was that people can buy from each other and they can sell to each other. So the idea of Launch for Me is that you can launch an NFT to somebody else to buy. You can build a community from there. And at the same time, that person can also launch an NFT as well. Okay, and then you can buy from them. Okay, so we have different kinds of earn benefits that we love to be able to explain to you. So how you can actually earn tokens that you can then use for spending, or if you want to then convert it out into cash, it just becomes almost like a redemption reward when you exchange it out from a decentralized exchange that we talked about earlier on. Make sure you have Telegram set up in your phone, and then become part of our community, and we'll continue to follow up you. My name is Raymond. Thank you so much for joining us.